Hey guys, Trevor Wiles here, coming back at you with another video for the channel. This video is actually going to be a quite informative video for some of you people. So, most of you probably don't know what this is, but in case you don't know, this is a kerosene heater. This is basically how some people heat their house off grid or in case of power outage or if their furnace breaks down. This is going to be about some safety tips. I know many people's uploaded safety, but this is my take on it. So this video is going to be just about that. So we're going to get started. So the number one rule about these heaters is to not leave them lit unattended. I know if you have to go to the store somewhere and you're in a rush and you have these lit, some people's going to make that mistake. And what you did is just created more trouble than you want. If you leave these things unattended, you could actually start a fire. It's a rare case, but some of us might have that device right there. Well, not a device. That looks like a cat, and cats like to run around. And same for dogs. And cat fur is actually quite flammable. And if they get up to one of these while it's lit and you're not around, they could set themselves on fire and potentially start a fire, or if it's a big enough animal, it could knock it over. Now, most modern heaters, they have a safety in them, which will trip via a pendulum. I'll show you how that works a little bit later on, maybe in the future, wherever. But this is just a safety guide. So number one, don't let these things lit unattended. If you're going to bed, shut it off. If you're leaving your house, shut it off. Oh, that's my cat. His name's Frank, by the way. So yeah, that's number one. Don't leave these things lit unattended. Number two, do not put any fuel besides clear K1 kerosene. I know some people may not have access to clear kerosene and may have to stick with red. And truth be told, red can work, but it will foul. You can foul up your wick, and you can create more smoke. It'll smoke a little bit. Now, these heaters, even though the fire may be at the right level, they will smoke, but you just won't be able to see it, and it will still make soot on the ceilings and everything. You'd have to keep them washed down every few days. But the only thing you're supposed to run these things is kerosene. It says it plain as day in the name of the heater, kerosene. Don't use K2, don't use diesel, and for God's sake, don't use gasoline or paint thinner. Gasoline will fucking, if you light this off with kerosene in it, it may work for a second, and then whatever fumes is coming out of this thing, those will ignite and it'll set the heater on fire, and then boom, your house is gone. So just only run kerosene in these things, please. Number three, make sure your safety on this thing works. Most heaters, every single heater now made has a safety in them. It's called a pendulum safety. And what that does is if you knock one of these things over, the pendulum's going to move, which will cause it to go out on safety. It'll either knock your wick down or close a hatch over and it'll snuff out your flame. I'll go into depth about that later on. But that's number three. Test your safety every once in a while. Make sure it works. Generally, I would test it maybe once a week or whatever, like you test your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. Number four, if you're running these things, run them in a ventilated house. Do not run these things in a small room with no ventilation. Kerosene, like many other fuels, creates carbon monoxide. And if you breathe that in, it can kill you. Carbon monoxide, as you know, is an odorless, colorless, tasteless gas. And it is not really good to breathe in. Don't worry, my cat just knocked something down. I'll pick that up. But yeah, if you're going to run these things, run them in a nice large room and at least have a window cracked just slightly open. I get it. Some heat may escape, but it damn sure beats suffocating to death in your own bedroom. But if you're going to bed, I still wouldn't leave this thing lit. I would shut it off, of course. But if you really need this thing to be on overnight, keep pets away from it. And just for God's sake, every time like maybe about every time you go to use the bathroom or whatever, check the heater, make sure it's working. If it and also have smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms as well. All right, I think that's most of the safe. Oh, I forgot, silly me. Keep the flame set at a good at the recommended level. If you have it set too high, it's not going to burn right. It's going to create smoke. If it's set too low, it's not going to burn right, and it's going to create carbon monoxide. Please, for the love of God, have this flame set right. And also, make sure your combustion chamber is properly seated on these things. If they're not properly seated, your flame ain't going to burn right neither. And also, if it's not burning right and everything's all seated, I would take a look at your wick. You might have some carbon buildup on it. You may need to take a wire brush too, or you might need your wick might need trimmed, or just may need replaced or adjusted. But again, that's later on. So that's mainly most of the safety tips for these things. Also, if you get one of these things, remember, these things got labels on them. Be sure to read every single label on these things because, again, if you don't follow what I just told you, I hate to say it, but if you don't follow them rules, you could either A, lose your house, B, suffocate to death, or C, burn to death. So, for the love of God, use safety on these things. Another thing I would do is every time you pull it out for the winter or whatever it is, if you're going to be using these things on a daily basis, or if your power goes out, or if you in case you're in an area where your power might go out, go through it, make sure your tank and everything ain't leaking, and make sure everything works good on it. Test your safety, check your wick and everything, and make sure it works properly. Make sure there's nothing leaking, because if it's leaking, well, fuel on a place, catches fire. But use common sense. These are basic rules of safety. They're pretty easy to follow. These things are very simple to follow, but just don't make the mistake of put gasoline or leave them unattended, please. All right, so I think that covers it all. If you have any other tips or suggestions, type those down into the comments below. Feel free to leave one down there. I'll respond to it, or I'll leave it a like or whatever it is. But leave a comment or whatever down below. And if you like this channel, little basic info. I'm autistic, by the way, and I have many interests in life. I have many hobbies: lawnmowers, furnaces, heaters, oil lamps, anything. If I could pull it apart and tinker on it, I'm probably interested in it, and I do have good knowledge on it, even though I'm 19. So if you do find this interesting, please, if you want to, you can hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell there you could ring. I don't know what it is. You could click it, and I guess it'll give you notifications or whatever it is if I upload a new video. And if you like this one, leave a like in the thing there. And if you don't like it, you can hit the dislike button. And if you hit the dislike button, just feel free to leave a comment down below on why you dislike the video. I get it. Not all of us are perfect. And if there's something you don't like, just leave a dislike down below and tell me what I did wrong, and I could probably correct it. So, y'all have a good day. If you're running these things, be safe. And above all, just use common sense. I'm Trevor Wiles. I'm going to sign off here. Have a good day, everyone.